Well, this is Jared with Stampede Blue, and this is your Indianapolis Colts post-game wrap. The Indianapolis Colts lost today at home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending World War champions, by the way. So the 7-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I might say. Final score 38-31. Colts are now 6-6 on the season. And today, the Colts lost because they weren't necessarily outcoached, weren't necessarily outplayed, but they definitely shot themselves in the foot. Can't turn the ball over like that. It falls on guys like Carson Wentz, like Naheem Hines, like Zach Pascal. Your offensive playmakers cannot turn the ball over. And if you've watched my videos over the years, I've been saying it the whole time. He who runneth the ball, and who holdeth on to the ball, and he who scoreth touchdowns in the red zone winneth the ball game. Um, and I think that when you when you target a guy like Michael Pittman Jr. 10 times and only get 4 completions out of the deal, um, when you call a game scared and then run an RPO like 15 times in a row and pass every time, I just feel like the Colts get out coached, outplayed in big games. It's like the Colts aren't ready. Um, And I could promise you, for example, if I were a defensive coordinator in the NFL and I were playing against Tampa Bay and Brady and Gronk are healthy, I'm doing whatever I can do to get a guy between the ball and Gronk, especially on third down. Um, Jonathan Taylor carried the ball 16 times for 83 yards, 5.2 yards a carry, and a touchdown, and that's effective in a lot of people's books. Colts carried the ball 20 times for 107 yards. That's 5.4 yards a carry, and had carries of 15 and 16. So when people say the Colts didn't run the ball effectively, I'm like, they just didn't run the ball. And then Carson Wentz was 27 for 44 for 306 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And in the first half, I think a lot of people would have told you that Carson Wentz was the man, and the Colts played a perfect first half, and they forced the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into making mistakes. But you don't get a half win. You get a win it. You win or loss at the end of the game. And the Colts allowed 27 rushes for 142 yards, including the backbreaker to end the game. Leonard Fournette had 17 carries for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, we've talked about that. He who stoppeth the run also has a pretty good chance of winning the game. Tom Brady was 25 of 34 for 226 yards. He had a touchdown and an interception and was sacked a couple times. So it wasn't Tom Brady that beat you. Checkdowns didn't beat you. Not defending the run against Leonard Fournette, who you're supposed to be beating, and then forcing or giving the ball away in 3 different spots was the difference in a 7 point game. Really felt like the Colts had an opportunity to win. You just choked, and I feel like that's an indictment on your coach. I've been saying screaming it all year. I felt like the Colts weren't prepared. I feel like the Colts bet on a couple guys that I don't think are 100% and that are going to let you down in key moments or soak up a roster spot when you really could use the help. And then they're going to rely on the development of young pass rushers and spot guys to fill gaps. I think it's fair to keep saying, Frank Reich did say, or Chris Ballard did say at the beginning of the year that this was an evaluation year. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. I think it's one thing to pile on uh, to Frank Reich and say maybe he's not ready for this and he's winless against playoff teams. But I think that that's ignoring what's happened since he's come into the NFL with Andrew Luck retiring suddenly, with gas left in the tank, put just about anybody in a career crisis mode. Guys like Frank Reich and Chris Ballard have uh, averted crisis, been to the playoffs, um, and I think have an opportunity here with Tennessee losing to still make something out of this season. But as I said earlier, when you lose your first few games, you make every game matter. And while this game was a big game and a game the Colts needed to win, they pretty much all are. the remainder of the season. We got about 5 games left. Really need to win the bulk of those games, if not all those games. Need probably 10, 11 wins minimum to get a wild card. But again, when we look back on this season and we look back, I get it. The narrative is going to be, Frank Reich can't beat playoff teams. Uh, he did get a big win last week against Buffalo. That was a big win. And I think possibly that win could have taken a little too much out of the Colts, and they just didn't have enough. And it's a week to week league. You got to have you got to blink and it's over, and be ready for the next week. And the real devil's in the details, and the preparation work that you do. And I imagine after an outing like this with four or five turnovers, you expect the Colts, specifically on offense, to tighten it up. Because I really felt like I said, I really felt like this game was winnable for the lot of it. Even late, even with the big return late with 10 seconds left, gave you a little hope. And then just didn't. I didn't feel like we got enough air into that ball going into the end zone. I would be real honest there. I was wondering what happened with that throw into the end zone. It looked like hopefully Carson Wentz's arm got hit and his arm didn't just blow out there. But yeah, uh, played a good first half. Played a real sharp first half of football. The kicker is it's a 4-quarter game, right? So yeah, this has been Jared with Stampede Blue. This is your Indianapolis Colts post game wrap, and enjoy the rest of the games this week, and we'll see you after next week's games.